It is Powwow.
The Powwow with Mo podcast.
Welcome to the Powwow with Mo podcast. I'm Mo.
I am Powwow.
And this is episode 8. So, Powwow, any new current event stuff that has been popped up that caught your attention?
Yes, I actually have quite a bit. First being the Louis C.K. scandal that has came out, where there's been 5 women that have said that he has masturbated in front of him. It did come out that on each one of these, at least so far, he has technically asked them.
Right. Yeah, I know quite a bit about this story because I love Louis C.K., and so it kind of sucks that he did this.
Yeah, right? For sure. Well, he had that movie coming out as well, I Love You, Daddy.
Yeah, but that looked creepy.
Yeah, but it has since been scrapped.
Right. So the reason why he was acting like it was an assault was because he was women had came up to his hotel. He had said, "Hey, do you want to see my penis?" And then since they didn't technically say no, he would masturbate in front of them.
Yeah.
And his kind of apology statement, which barely was just like, I didn't realize just having the influence over them would make them say yes. So, I mean, part of me wants to be like, yeah, he's just an idiot. I don't think he was sexually predatory about it. But, I mean,
for sure,
it's hard to draw lines in these situations.
Agreed. It really sucks of Louis C.K. I mean, he definitely, in a lot of his jokes, people think he may have crossed the line. I liked him as a comedian and an actor, and it really does. I mean, I know his 4 series that he has, all of them were canceled. Just about everything he's got going so far has since been scrapped, which really sucks for him.
Yeah. Oh, one thing we mentioned last week that I've heard different information on, I should have looked it up to clarify, but I didn't, is, so remember when it said a woman won the New York Marathon for the first time and whatever?
Yes.
It was the first American woman to win the women's marathon.
Okay.
But all the headlines purposely made it seem as if she won the whole thing.
I got it. So she was the first woman to be the first woman to cross.
Of American women.
Of American women.
Right, because some Kenyan dude won it. But
of course, and that's why they just don't
mention. Something I'll definitely try to look into so I have more information in the future is there's this one race that takes days. It's like the Iditarod but foot race. Mm-hmm. And this woman destroyed everyone. First woman to win it, outright won it. And she ran this thing in 58 hours. And the second place person finished in 58 hours. So, and you can stop and take a rest at any time. I wish I could remember what the name of this race was. But she stopped one time for 20 minutes. Couldn't go to sleep, so she decided to just get up and keep running. And then another time, she let her sleep for 1 minute. So she was like, set your timer to 1 minute. And she took a 1 minute nap and then got up and then ran the rest of it.
I can't even stop moving after 1 minute to fall asleep, let alone just taking a 1 minute nap.
And so seems like she's a badass. But anyway.
For sure.
I'll look into that more.
Okay. Something else, Roy Moore, the former Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice, made a statement this week that the transgenders don't have rights. Again, that is not my comment. That is Roy Moore's. It just is very deflating to hear somebody of that magnitude say something like that.
I mean, it's not surprising.
No, I'm not surprising. Just, it feels like we continuously take a step forward to take 3 steps backwards.
Maybe. I mean, I think the world hasn't fallen apart.
No.
With the current presidency and all that. So I think we're going to be fine. But Roy Moore said a lot of crazy things. I mean, he has poems he's written about against gay people and things like that. So, I mean, he has a history with these kind of statements.
For sure.
I don't find it that crazy.
I mean, he's been removed twice from the state Supreme Court for defying a federal order to remove the 10 Commandments from the courthouse.
Well, they're important,
For sure.
What else do we have in current events?
So one thing it's been a newer story today is about our President Trump saying that he believes Putin and Russia did not involve themselves in the election. That was what he said Saturday. His exact quote was, "Every time he sees me, he says, I didn't do that." And I really believe that when he tells me that, he means it. I think he is very insulted by it.
And then today
he says, I believe that he feels that he and Russia did not meddle in the election. As to whether I believe it or not, I am with our agencies, especially our currently constituted with the leadership.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, I just think the big problem is that he's asked questions right after things happen, and he hasn't had time to be debriefed, and so he just says what's on his mind. Whereas I think past presidents, and this is me being as nice as possible, I think they at least took the time to listen to someone before they talked, and maybe he just doesn't do that step. So that's why you basically hear him give both sides to every question normally.
I mean, his statement of saying there was no collusion, everyone knows there was no collusion, is just false.
Yeah. But also, I think a lot of the problem comes from people have their own definition in their mind of what collusion would be. So to them, it's like, okay, so Russia put up Facebook ads. That's not collusion. And then some people are like, that is collusion. You know what I mean? Whereas I think some people would be like, yeah, if the Russians were on our soil voting, then that would be collusion. But anything short of that, wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we have an exact term of what collusion would be for everyone to be on the same page or not.
For sure.
I did see where Facebook in Australia to battle revenge porn, basically.
Okay.
They have a system they're going to try out. I think it sounds ridiculous. But basically what it is if you would send a nude picture to someone, you then also send it to this Facebook bot, I believe, or something to Facebook through Facebook Messenger. So you would be sending them nude pictures, and they'll check them and then make sure that no one posts those anywhere.
That just seems like a terrible idea.
I agree. I just don't think it's the best idea.
It's like we don't want to get our picture out to a whole bunch of people, but instead we're going to send it to Facebook so then they can monitor that picture and make sure it's not being used in other areas.
Right. And there's been a couple bits of information I've read here and there. One of them said that like a computer program would be looking at it, so no humans would. But another thing said no, there would be someone over it that would have to view them to make sure it's people not trying to prank Facebook. I just put up a picture of Don Cheadle, right? And then all of a sudden he can't be in. So I don't know, but I thought that was pretty crazy.
That's nuts. Something else with regards to the NFL is Jerry Jones. He is taking a very proactive approach. Apparently, one thing I was unaware of is that when Roger Goodell got his extension, how it works is there is a 3-owner committee that gave him that extension. Not the rest of the owners,
right.
Just 3 of them. Jerry Jones was not one of those people.
They fucked up.
Exactly. So his first thing is that he said that they could have got Roger Goodell for a lot less than they're currently paying him. Because he's going to get...
I would hope so.
For sure.
He makes so much money.
I mean, it is quite ridiculous. I mean, he'll make over $100 million in the 5-year period there. But now Jones has got himself onto that committee. He has already threatened that if they try to give Roger Goodell an extension, that he will file a lawsuit. I think it's one. I do think this Ezekiel Elliott issue is one reason why he's on it, because I think he's first off tired of going back and forth. Finally, they came up this week that he will not be playing,
right?
Because he lost his appeal for, I guess, the 3rd time of appealing it. But all he needs is 24 of the 32 votes if he wants to remove Goodell, and it does seem like there is becoming more and more of a rift between Goodell and the owners, whereas 3 or 4 years ago, the owners had nothing but praises to say because of the amount of money that he was bringing into the NFL.
I think they will keep Goodell mainly because he's just a bigger bad guy than them, and they pay him to take the heat. Like, if it wasn't for him taking so much heat, owners would take more.
For sure.
So, like when the Houston Texans owner came out and said that, so, it was bad. But then Roger Goodell within the next week comes out and is like, we should all stand for the flag. Just, he makes a public statement just to take the heat off of owners. Like, that's kind of also his job.
For sure. I mean, I agree with that. I find it crazy with Jerry Jones because it does seem like he's trying to get rid of him. He had a conference call with 16 other owners that are not on the compensation committee. to gauge support for dramatic changes to Goodell's next contract.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to see if they went another direction, but I also, like I've said, I don't think football's going to continue to grow in popularity the way it had.
No, I
the
think
last 20 years.
I think the explosion of the NFL is now at a plateau.
Right.
If not slightly
Like, if I
decreasing.
owned
because of
an
this
NFL
issue.
team, I think right now would be the best time to sell.
For sure. Like your Jaguars, something
Shad
Khan.
Khan.
Shad Khan. Spells like Shad. But yeah, Shad Khan. Any of those teams, I mean, it would be good to see someone, if they wanted to get rid of it, do it now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
And really, I think their big problem is they never got a global appeal. And so now things like basketball and soccer, even baseball, like they have it where people play that professional sport in their country. Like football, it is an American, and then Canadian football is almost exactly the same. But no other countries really play it. So I just think they're going to, in our global world, they could have benefited from some of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like where the NBA just signed that huge deal with some Asian company to live stream all of their games. Sure. NFL will not have that.
The last thing that I have here is regarding the Chinese Basketball Association. There was an altercation between Stephon Marbury and Jimmer Fredette, which I wish I would have watched the video to see those two go at it.
Yeah, I heard about it.
But apparently they got into it in the third quarter, which again, the names of these people, like the Shanghai Sharks or the Beijing Beikong Fly Dragons. I don't know why they can't just be dragons, why they have to be fly dragons. I guess they're always
those are
looking
different.
fresh. I don't know.
Duh.
But I just thought it was a funny article to see this week.
Right on, man. Okay, so moving on a little bit past current events, but more to like what's going on in our life. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned this Until Dawn game and how I was going to give it a shot. And I actually beat it on Halloween, and then I forgot to bring it up last week. But it is super dope. Like, really big fan of it. You're playing like a teenage horror movie. So it's like teenagers in a cabin, and you have to keep making choices, and then it like butterfly effects off. So different choices you make makes different things happen. I got really pissed because I lost one of the 8 characters.
So you didn't get the platinum, I'm assuming.
Well, to get the platinum, you'd have to go back because there's trophies like everyone survives, one where everyone dies. So like you'd have to do multiple playthroughs. But I really thought I could get everyone to live, and fucking Matt got killed on something so stupid. So I went and looked up how I could have gotten him to live, and anyway, I was angry about that. But I got the other 7 characters to live through it. Thought the game was really good. If they had more games like that, I would play them. I believe that company's moving on to like these weird PlayStation gimmicky games where you get an app on your phone and like a room full of people choose what they would want to happen, and then majority like party games, you know what I mean, more than this. But I thought Until Dawn was really good. So if anyone sees it and wants to buy it, it's pretty fucking dope.
Sweet. I actually got to play a little bit on PS4 this weekend. I was watching my brother play the new Call of Duty game. He's a huge fan of that. And that's when I realized that how, I guess, out of date I am on playing those shooters, because how fast everyone plays. And I'm from, I don't know, a half mile away. These kids just, and you can see the kill cam, so they quickly just like no scope you. And it really makes me not want to play it. So I just I didn't play it. I let my brother continue.
All those sort of games as services kind of game, like the game you play one game, like that's those people. Like people that play Destiny, Call of Duty, any of those. That's all they play all the time. That's where I'm kind of out because I want to play different games.
For sure.
I'm just never going to dedicate enough time to be good at one game.
For sure.
Like that. I got the platinum in South Park, so I beat it again with a black character on the hardest difficulty.
That's still fun. Fire.
Yeah, it was actually easier on the harder difficulty, it seemed. But I think it was also because I just kind of speed ran through it. I didn't care about getting all the collectibles or anything like that. So it didn't take too long. And then that also brings me on to, they finally came out with the South Park phone game.
Oh, yeah?
Called South Park Phone Destroyer. Highly recommend it. Super good. It's kind of like a card battle game can also like Clash Royale if you've seen or played that game before on mobile. It's pretty good.
Sweet.
Pretty good. It's funny. Like they'll call, like it looks like your phone comes up like Cartman's calling you and you answer it and he's talking shit to you. Like, so it's pretty good. And then today I started playing Bully because I had nothing else to really play.
Yeah.
I've been putting off Metal Gear Solid 5 because I've just never played those games, but they gave it away for free last month. So it's really good. But instead of starting that, I went ahead and started Bully. So we'll see how long it takes me to get through that.
For sure.
Have you finished watching any more of the Orville?
I have made it through, I believe, 5 episodes now.
It's so funny.
I've really been addicted to it. It cracks me up. I don't remember the guy, the weird all male race.
Mortis, I believe.
He finally had his egg. Sat on it for a while naked, which is just very weird. But it is funny. And then I know you had told me that it was going to happen, and I forgot about it until I watched it happen.
The practical joke.
The practical joke where the robot cuts off the dude's leg.
Yeah. Dude, I lose it watching it.
I hadn't laughed so hard in a while. That show it's got me hooked because it does have, now I will admit, it's very Star Trek-ish.
Right. Well, a lot of people call it a Star Trek parody, and I think
sure.
Seth MacFarlane was getting upset by that. Like, it's not just a parody. We're trying to do a good show. And they are trying to do, like, their own sci-fi show.
Yeah.
But it is clearly a Star Trek parody.
It definitely feels like a Star Trek parody.
It definitely borrows a lot from Star Trek.
That's for sure. I don't know. I've really, really taken a liking to it, and so has my wife. It's a show that we'll continue to watch. I've seen that it was renewed for a second season, and so I'm kind of excited to get this one going. But then again, I'm not, because then the second season won't be around for another year.
Right.
But I definitely am ready to continue watching it.
For sure. And because I haven't had a whole lot of new stuff to watch lately, we restarted watching Parks and Rec yesterday or the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot how funny Parks and Rec is. It's just such a funny show.
Yeah. Parks and Rec Leslie Knope makes that show, and it's just hilarious. But I mean, every character, obviously Ron Swanson cracks me up with his crazy, especially whenever he goes
Ron
into a
Swanson's
restaurant.
One of the best characters, period.
Yeah. And he'll just sit down and go, I would like all of your eggs and bacon. And he go, all right, hold on, son. I know you thought what I said was give me a lot of eggs and bacon, but I mean give me every egg and bacon that you have. Like it's that funny.
Yeah.
And my mom actually sent me a meme on this because I've been unfortunately grouped into their group text.
Fun.
Yeah. And so I keep leaving, and it just drives me nuts because they send them all throughout the day. And I mean, there'll be like 30 messages in 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, I have an actual job to do. I can't be staring at my phone the entire time. And so she sent the picture of Ron Swanson taking out a cell phone when it's ringing and beating it with a hammer. I go, that's exactly how I feel right now.
Yeah. There's so many good ones that I forgot about.
For sure.
Like whenever Leslie won't let Ron drive home, she's like, let me check the chart. And when he eventually gets home, he's like, I drank 6 more whiskeys. And then I made this harp out of wood. And like he has this massive thing. This guy, I'm not like a normal man.
For sure. It's pretty good.
Well, and Chris Pratt's so funny.
Oh,
I forgot how like he's way
Andy's
funnier
awesome.
in Parks and Rec than any movie he's done.
For sure.
Like he's so good. Like the first episode has Burt Macklin.
Oh man, I love Burt Macklin. Special Agent.
Right. Well, the thing is, it gets ridiculous towards the end. Like they really hop it up. But the first time, he's just like makes it up on the spot. And he's like, Burt Macklin, FBI. And you're like, oh, and they kept that going forever.
It's really good.
Yeah, so definitely miss that and glad to be watching it.
For sure.
All right, so let's move on to our top 5 list. What do we have this week?
So the top 5 list is, again, not the top 5 best, but our top 5 favorite, and that is the top 5 favorite wrestlers of ours. Also, before we go any further, we did not mention this at the beginning, so I want to do so now. If anyone has any questions, suggestions, or ideas you would like for us to talk about, please email us at thepowwowwithmo@gmail.com. That is THEPOWWWITHMO@gmail.com.
Good catch on that one. So, we're doing top 5 favorite wrestlers.
Yes.
And the more closer we get to it, I'm like, man, there's so many that I feel like could make it. Wrestlers were just as hard. Now, I have not watched it. I mean, I quit when The Rock was still there, but like before John Cena showed up.
Yeah, that's about the time frame that I stopped watching it. I have since tried, whenever my wife is gone, tried just to let me see what it's like, and I just can't do it.
Right. Well, they really bought all into like it's scripted and everyone knows it, so let's make it crazy.
Yeah, and they get a little, I don't know, it's not as fun to me because I guess back then, there's literally times where people's heads were actually cut open because they were hit with a steel chair.
Right. Well, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, when we get to our list, but there were just funnier characters then. Like, I just don't find these new people funny. You know what I mean? Like, they'll do whatever chant and then people like enjoy it. And I'm like, all right, we're just going to go give away my number 5. No one will ever be as funny as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
See, that's my number 2.
Right. Okay. So we'll wait till we get to your number 2. But like, funniest dude ever. But I remember watching wrestling a lot, mainly because my dad he enjoyed watching it too.
Same for my grandfather.
Right. And so we were just going to watch wrestling when it was on. So I remember Monday nights, WCW came on TNT at like 7 o'clock.
Monday Night Nitro. That's what it was.
Right, Nitro. And then Raw, which was WWF.
Yep.
Still weird to say E to me, but it came on at 8 o'clock. So for like the first solid hour, you were watching WCW.
Yep.
And then you would switch back and forth.
Exactly. Then whoever was wrestling, whatever match it was, that's the show that I was watching.
Right. So it just kind of depended after that. They had the merger. The merger was a really big deal.
I remember when it was WCW versus WWF.
Yeah.
And you had Kevin Nash and then, Diesel and Razor Ramon go over to WCW as Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, which were the same exact characters.
Well, that was just their real name.
Yeah, and that's what they went with.
In WWF, they own your character.
Yeah, there was a huge lawsuit over it.
That was kind of where it all came from.
Because I watched a video, it was probably about a month ago, where it has Scott Hall, which first off, still has a toothpick in his mouth, even at like 65 years old.
Fuck yeah.
Severely out of shape, but he's still got the toothpick. And he said that he knew that it was going well when Vince McMahon was ready to sue them. And he goes, that's when I knew we were doing it right.
Right.
Because they went over there, and I don't remember the saying that Razor Ramon had, but where he said it and then he flicked the toothpick at you. He did the exact same thing on WCW, and that's what they were sued for. Was because they said they took those characters over, even though you changed their names, they dress the same, they obviously look the same,
right?
And so it's funny.
Well, and like their storylines always kind of mirrored each other when they were both popular. Like NWO and D-Generation X were kind of the same.
They were
thing in a way, but anyway. So I already gave my number 5, which is your number 2. So wait till we get to number 2. So what is your number 5?
Number 5, I don't know if he's on your list. He may be, which is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's my number 1.
Okay, we'll skip that one then. So my number 4, I've got is Undertaker.
Oh, he's a good one. I do not have.
I really bought into the where he was carrying around that vase or that urn, with his supposed dead body that was in there, and that's where he summoned his powers from. The thing that always you would wait for every time he'd get knocked down is for him to sit straight up. Like some finisher would happen, and that's supposed to knock him out. But the Undertaker, because Paul Bear would be over in the corner.
Yeah, see, Paul Bear creeped me out.
But he sold it. He absolutely sold it.
As a kid, because Undertaker's around forever.
Yeah.
He creeped me out. Because Paul Bear would be like, oh, and the Undertaker. And it'd be all great, right? And like, it was creepy.
And he had that pale white face with the black around his eyes.
Right. He really was like the original goth kid, zombie look and all that.
For sure.
But when Kane came around, I loved Kane.
Kane, the big red machine.
Right. Well, and it would be like, hellfire and brimstone, it's Kane. So I really liked Kane, and then once him and Undertaker became cool, then I kind of liked Undertaker.
Yeah, see, I just always liked Undertaker from the time I started watching it. It was just fun to watch him because he had that very dark. The only thing I didn't agree, he calls himself the Prince of Darkness for a very short time frame. When the only person I know of that title is Ozzy Osbourne with the Prince of Darkness, but he called himself that for like the first couple of years, and then he just kind of went with it. He's just from hell. But there was some very crazy moments, especially when he's wrestling Kane. He cuts the hole in the middle of the WWF mat, and pulls him down like he's pulling him down to the underworld.
Yeah.
And it sold it for me. It's like, at the end of the day, all they're doing is just hanging out down there right now, doing nothing. But you're like, oh my God, he's going to the underworld.
Well, so I remember being in 7th grade, 8th grade, being in the computer lab. Maybe younger than that, because I feel like I wasn't watching wrestling. But whenever it was, when I first had access to a computer, and then you could just go to WWF's website, you click on Kane, and then it shows a photo gallery of the people. And if you go far enough back, you just see him before he was Kane when he had some other name, and then his face wasn't burnt.
Yep.
He was kind of a creepy looking dude, but you know what I mean? He wasn't what they were saying he was. And so I look at all these people and be like, wait, and like Stone Cold Steve Austin used to just be Steve Austin, and he had blonde hair, and it was like...
When he was in WCW?
It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I remember finding those pictures and being like, that's when it first started to set in of like, I don't know if what they're telling me is true. I think really they might have been possessed by demons.
For sure. So what do you have as your number 4, brother?
My number 4 is Goldberg.
Man, I wanted to have him on my list so bad, but I couldn't find where to put him in the top 5.
Well, and it's one of the things that like towards the end of Goldberg, I didn't really root for Goldberg. It didn't seem like, but his like rise up, he got fucked over by WWF buying WCW at the end of the day. He
did.
But he started off where he was like 56-0, and like every week it was a big deal because he would win another one. And we mentioned earlier the WCW would be on an hour earlier, and because he started off kind of fresh, you got to see all those early matches because you were watching WCW and you hadn't switched over yet. And then whenever he was like challenging people, and he was still pretty fresh, but it was like 63-0, he's gonna take on whoever the champion is. Those were awesome, and now his moves were whack. He speared people.
And then he had the jackhammer.
Right. And the jackhammer, I guess, is a pretty cool for wrestling move. But the spear would be like, the spear, and I'm like, I do that every day at football practice. Exactly. The fuck is this?
And some people could do it, and that would just be a regular move. But when Goldberg did it, you were done.
Right. But I really liked he like didn't talk much. And he, I don't know, I just kind of like to say it. In hindsight, he was basically just like, because Goldberg's a Jewish name, was he just like the Jewish Rock? Because he wore the same, like, just black trunks, and he, like, blew out of his nose real hard. I don't know. I feel like that might have been their answer.
Been going towards that. I did like his intro, though, where he would kick his leg and punch 2 times, and the fireworks would go off every single time. And that was the intros for all of these wrestlers were just always great.
I mean, I owned the WWF soundtracks, like volume 3 and 4, and then I would put on the Degeneration, and I would just bump out to this fucking wrestling intro music. Oh man, there are some really good songs though,
for sure.
All right, so Goldberg was awesome. When he went to WWF, they tried to keep it going, but they had him like lose to someone.
Yeah, they had him lose.
Kind of drop him down a peg.
Yeah, but we're going to get you off your high horse, sir.
And most recently, we've seen him in The Goldbergs.
Yes.
He plays the coach's brother.
He is awesome. And it's awesome that he's in there because his name is Goldberg.
Right.
That's what makes it really great.
All right, so number 3?
Number 3. So my number 3 is from WCW, also went to TNA and NWA, is Sting.
That's my number 2.
Number 2, okay.
We can go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so I like Sting even before he donned all the black and the white mask.
Well, I'll say I really liked the Ultimate Warrior when I was really young.
Okay.
And Sting was like his tag team partner. So when Sting came back...
And he came back with the
NWO time period.
Yep.
I was just all in. I was like, fuck yeah, I've been waiting for that
I do remember when he comes back, all the things go black, and you're like, what's that? And then you hear the
like glass break, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it was the glass break, and then all of a sudden he's standing there with his black baseball bat, which for some reason Sting was allowed to have. No one else was allowed to have it.
Yeah.
And he take it and just knock the fuck out of people. It was great. He had a few finishing moves. He had... it was a reverse DDT. I don't remember what it's called, but that was his finishing move.
Man, I can't believe I can't remember that right now.
I know there is the Scorpion Deathlock, which was his...
It was like a inverse figure 4.
Exactly. Scorpion Death Drop is what it was called. Scorpion Death Drop. But then there was a Scorpion Deathlock, which was the figure 4, or excuse me, the same thing as Bret Hart's and then he had the one thing that is now just a common move, the Stinger Splash, where he would just go running from one side of the ring, and if you're trapped in the corner, he'd jump up, and because he is Sting, that one worked better for him. I mean, there's all kinds of moves that people have that are used that are, unless it's used by that person, it's a finisher. But
now I can't quite remember, but NWO starts with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which is the best version of Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Well, it's I guess Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Scott Hall started,
Bischoff.
and then
Hulk Hogan
joined,
right,
and then
real quick.
But he takes it over. I mean, he's the captain, if you will, of NWO.
And then did Sting ever officially join NWO?
I don't know if he was ever officially,
because I remember he like wore the same colors, and he kind of harassed them at first. And I know 100% he was in the Wolfpack.
The Wolfpack, man.
The Wolfpack was the coolest shit there was.
Kevin Nash said, "Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. We're going on our own."
Yeah, and so we're going to turn it all red. Now, I know Sting was there because he wore out the red face stuff from time to time.
I'm not a huge fan of red, but he looked sick.
Oh, yeah, dude. That was the best time for wrestling. And then they had Conan, whatever.
Yes.
The little Mexican.
The Mexican dude,
like,
yes.
Oh, you love it. He was great. Anyway, so there was that whole time period. But Sting, I can't remember if I think he did join NWO for like a second just to betray them and join the Wolfpack. I don't quite remember how it went. And then they just kept that character whenever they merged, and he still wore the Sting paint. But then, like you said, he went to I'd never watched TNA or any of the other offshoots that happened, but I know he's still keeping it going. He's like 60 years old or something.
Yeah, he is. He's just over 60, which I thought was strange that he is that old still wrestling. But yeah, the Wolfpack was definitely my favorite of them. I mean, you had Buff Bagwell, Kevin Nash, Conan, like you mentioned, Lex Luger, Scott Hall, Scott Steiner with his double muscle of bicep that he had, and Sting. And it was awesome to have that Wolfpack, because then you had the two rivalries of NWO and the Wolfpack going at each other, which was always sick. All right, so what do you have as your number 3?
My number 3 is Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. So, okay. I was never a huge fan of Hulk Hogan, but he brought wrestling he brought it into its heyday.
Well, so I kind of put him on here for that reason, because he made it way bigger than it was. But I genuinely loved Hulk Hogan at different times of my life. It's like when I first got into wrestling, he was the best. Yep. He had all the toys. And we've talked about it before. He has the worst moveset ever because he's so old. It was
big
boot and the leg drop, things other people just did. But if he did it, and he also had you pull my arm up twice and it falls, and the third time it's gonna.
And he starts shaking and getting the crowds going into it,
But so my dad liked Hulk Hogan, so when I am watching, he oh, you gotta like him, and you would see some of the classic matches. I remember owning some VHSs of the best of SummerSlam,
yes,
and some different things like that.
I mean, Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant,
right?
That's a very well known one.
Great ones. But I also love the Hulk Hogan movie. I should have looked up the name. It's Tropic Beach or Tropic something or another, and he's it's like Baywatch but badass. So they have jet skis that pop out of their speedboat and they're chasing down people. And then he has to swim under the ocean, and they have these devices that allow him to breathe underwater. And it was just Hulk Hogan kicking ass. I remember loving that VHS as a kid. So, but I always really liked Hulk Hogan. Now, when he first joined the NWO, I remember because we were kids being oh, that's bullshit. Because Eric Bischoff would just seem like an asshole. And then, but Hulk Hogan made it cool to be a villain in a way.
Yeah, he did.
So once he put on the black boas and was all Hollywood Hulk Hogan and fucking really got into it, it was kind of hard not to at least enjoy him on TV.
For sure.
You didn't have to cheer for him in the wrestling matches, but if he was on, you were watching because you're this dude's fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, Hulk Hogan was awesome. I mean, it's not that I disliked him. It's just I didn't gravitate towards him like I did some of these other people. I mean, my grandfather, like I said, got me into wrestling. His favorite wrestler was Andre the the $1 Million Man, Tony DiBiase, and things like that. But Hulk Hogan he was not a fan of Hulk Hogan, so I guess that's why I wasn't as much. But I mean, when he was with NWO and his brother on everything just made me laugh. Or when he'd go, "There's 20,000 Hulkamaniacs run wild on you," and just, he had some of the greatest things ever. But I
remember I also had a VHS tape. It was a cartoon, and it was like Hulk and his friends versus Roddy Piper and his friends, but they were like on a farm competing to beat some obstacle course. Like, it was so random, but I loved it because I was like, it's wrestlers in cartoon form, and wrestling was just cool at that time period.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my number 2 is Sting. Your number 2 is
Stone Cold Steve Austin,
which is my number 5.
So let's talk about Stone Cold.
Well, to me,
the baddest MFer in WWF.
I guess if I could just say, I think the reason I don't like wrestling now is because of him.
Okay.
In some weird way, but when he did it, he was the best at it.
For sure.
So like, used to not really do the in between matches segments too often.
No.
They're a little more rare. But once Stone Cold became a thing, his were so good that you looked more forward to him beating up Vince McMahon in a hospital bed or just getting drunk and talking shit. Like
Undertaker about cutting him open.
Right. Like
take him to the underworld.
Many good segments with him.
For sure.
And his wrestling, he didn't even do shit. He would just walk in, a motherfucker, kick someone in the stomach, and Stone Cold stun them, and then they would crack open 2 beers. Like, very rarely, at least in my memory, did he have, like, a long match that he was struggling. It was like, I kick so fucking hard. I mean, I would just Stone Cold stun you.
Whenever the WCW, or the Raw versus WCW, or whatever that was, Raw versus Nitro, or Raw versus SmackDown, I think is what it was, and he comes flying in his truck with his, first off, he had the knee braces that almost every football player now wears.
Right.
Comes in there and beats like 20 people on the way to the ring because he grabs anything. And some of those, that's what I think gravitated me more towards wrestling back then, is like he used a metal pipe.
Right.
There's no way to fake a metal pipe hit.
Yeah.
I mean, you just heard it and it just shiver. And then he would come into the ring, stunned like 18 people while in the ring, and somehow no one hits him while he's doing this. And then he'd...
Like, see, and I also kind of think, like, even though we believed, you had to know it wasn't real.
For sure, you had to know at some point.
And it was just like soap operas are for old women. Like, to me, that's just what wrestling is for young boys. Like, I don't really see it too much different. Like, the storylines would be crazy, and you'd be like, no way this is happening. No, it wasn't, but it was awesome.
But you wanted to buy into it. But no, I think it was awesome. There's a few...
But I will say Stone Cold's the best villain of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Because he was never the hero. Even when people would cheer for him, he'd be like, well, fuck you, give me a hell yeah. Like, he just never, you know what I mean? He didn't embrace...
Or his simple just, what? And then the crowd would yell, what? What?
Yeah, like, I don't know. He had some good ones, you know. That's the bottom line. Stone Cold said so.
Exactly. Or whenever he came out with his beer truck and sprayed Vince McMahon on the WWF with a fire hose of beer.
I mean, he stole Cold Stun, the president of the United States.
For God, that's right. That is correct.
And kind of reminds me, like, remember Dennis Rodman had a thing on wrestling for a minute? Shaq, I think, for a minute did something.
Shaq's done about everything.
It was just always interesting.
For sure.
Fucking love wrestling. All right, so who is your... Well, I guess my number 1.
Yeah, let's talk about your number 1.
Is Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid.
The icon.
And apparently now he's like a super, like... goody two-shoes because everyone's on drugs and wrestling, so he's trying to help everyone get off of it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. I think they all take so many painkillers.
I mean, let's look at a few of the people that have committed suicide.
Right. Steroids and painkillers probably aren't a good combination.
No.
But I, like, love the Generation X. Probably more than anything. I mean, Wolfpack's close. That's why Sting's number 2.
Yeah.
And HBK's number 1 here. Like, I fucking loved it.
I mean,
they'd still everyone to suck it.
Exactly. That's what, and then you get in trouble going to school,
right?
Because this was when I was in elementary.
There was like a debate, even though they did both. Where like, did you suck it like this or suck it where you make the X?
Exactly.
Because sometimes they would do it one way and sometimes they'd do another. And then I would give Triple H a shout out because he was really great in that role as well.
For sure, he really ran that.
Badass Billy Guns and his tag team partner
X-Pac.
X-Pac was in it.
And then who was something Dog?
I think that's what I'm thinking of. It was Badass Billy Gunn's tag team partner.
Yeah, Rowdy Dog or something like that.
But yeah, they were awesome, and their music was great, and they didn't.
Oh, and China. We can't forget about China, who
China
recently passed away. Well, I guess last year.
But I just loved it. Like that moments when I would switch over to Raw.
For sure.
Off WCW, because I'm like, well, I got to see what these fools are doing.
It was awesome.
Because they were really, I mean, I guess right there was Stone Cold. Like, they were doing funny segments, and I was probably never going to really behave like that, but it was funny to see these people.
It was.
But I had, like, D-Generation X t-shirts. Like, yeah. I was all in on that. And I just love Shawn Michaels' finishing move.
Sweet chin music.
Where he just literally kicks a motherfucker in the head.
And you would hear it clock right on the side of their jaw.
Right, and I think I liked it because there was no faking that.
No, there was.
Like, sure, they fall down and they act like they're knocked out cold and probably not. But, like, they just got kicked in the face.
I would want to lay down as well for quite some time if I got kicked like that.
Right, so I really, really liked Shawn Michaels. He, like, went away, came back, and I was like, yeah.
Exactly, so, and then he came back like an all-white coming down from the ceiling or from the rafters. And
right.
It was... But I just like, because he would pump that leg up like he's trying to pump it up to kick somebody, and then he just knocked the shit out of you.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels was dope.
For sure. So, my number one is The Rock.
I mean, I never loved him while wrestling, but I do enjoy him in, like, the entertainment industry.
For sure.
And I respect what he did.
Yeah, I mean...
But I was just never, like, whatever rock fans are called.
Yeah, I don't... The millions and millions... of fans, because he called himself the People's Champ.
Right.
Just the things that made me like the People's Elbow, like that was just a finisher.
Right. I mean, same Hulk Hogan sort of still.
For sure, but I don't know what it was about taking that armband off, slinging it, or his hat on, jumping over and doing that, or the rock bottom. You're like, oh, if the rock bottom, done, it's over with.
Right.
But it's like all he is just lifting someone up and taking them to the ground. That's it. Nothing
but he had a lot of good lines like Stone Cold where he'd be like, if you smell
what the Rock is cooking. Exactly.
Right. He had the people's eyebrow.
Oh, and he would kill that eyebrow.
I mean, my grandpa's done that my whole life.
But
so to me, it was my pawpaw's eyebrow. But
for sure.
He made it very, very popular.
Yeah.
Where like everyone did it.
Exactly. And I mean, I remember trying, because I can't do it, but I remember trying like pushing a piece of tape up there like I'm trying to do the people's eyebrows.
I can do at least one still, but I used to be able to do both.
I mean, I just remember during the Attitude Era of WWF or wrestling in general, that when Trish Stratus, when Vince McMahon was having people kiss his ass, literally kiss his ass, and had Trish Stratus do it, and he brings them out into the ring, and Vince McMahon's all googly-eyed, happy he can kiss Trish Stratus' ass, and he goes, no, you can't kiss that ass. You gotta kiss someone else's. And then here comes Rikishi with his giant dimple butt.
Rikishi was awesome.
Yeah, I have a shout out to him, but I'll just do it now. Rikishi was awesome with his, who was it? Scotty Too Hottie, who did the worm. And there's someone else that he did the dancing moves with at the end of every match.
Yeah, I don't remember who they are, but I know what you're talking about.
But it was just, because I don't know, I really fell in love with The Rock on there. Him and Stone Cold, those are my 1 and 2, and they would just go at it. Right. I mean, they have some of the best matches that I remember watching, but that rounds out my top 5.
Right, and so some that I wanted to put but didn't. I have to shout out to Macho Man Randy Savage because he was awesome.
Down. He was,
but when you go back and watch like his storyline, he was just an abusive husband and like just beat the shit out of Elizabeth.
Like he wasn't a good dude at all.
Yeah, but as a kid, you just see all the streamers and you're like,
oh yeah,
right, and you love him. But I remember really liking him. But now after learning more of the past, I'm like
terrible person,
right?
Exactly. I mean, snap into a Slim Jim. But
that's probably why I love him. I love
for
Slim
sure.
Jims.
I mean, there's a few shout outs. Rey Mysterio.
Oh yeah, Giant Killer Rey Mysterio.
Exactly. Everyone's always trying to unmask him.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it was just that was a big thing. Another one we've mentioned them before is Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. There was a tag team, and you'll probably remember the Dudley Boys with Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley.
They came on about the time I was getting out of it a little bit.
They were the last, like, new people that were coming in whenever I was, like you said, like
I
was
didn't
just
like
getting ready to
them.
leave.
I just didn't like them for whatever reason. Like, but I remember they were in video games that I purchased and played, so I know I watched a little bit of them.
I liked them for their finishing move because we would do it to my brother all the time with my buddies, where you would throw one up and the other one would just pretty much DDT stun or somebody.
Right.
But I mean, there's so many wrestlers. I feel like it.
I mean, I think Mankind,
Cactus Jack,
Dude Love,
all
Foley,
of them were
right.
great.
Like Mick Foley was awesome, and then he had like all three going at once at one time.
You wouldn't know who's coming out.
See, I remember the Mankind and The Rock having wars.
They always had,
and then they
wars.
became tag team partners
For sure.
And it was the whole thing. But Mankind was gross. It was weird. He put a
He
sock
had the
in your
sock
mouth.
puppet.
Oh, it's already making me want to gag. Think about it.
Yeah, that was so bad. But I mean, he was honestly the most not in shape person in wrestling.
Yeah.
And he would bust his ass he would take more falls and thrown off cages than I've seen anybody else.
Yeah.
And he didn't care. But I think that's what really helped his character, was that he would always get beat up, but he was always the nice guy. Except for Cactus Jack, who brought in the barbed wire wrapped around a 2x4.
I didn't have the suit. Who was the guy? Everyone would chant USA for him on WCW, and he had just carried in a big 2x4, or maybe he carried in a flag. They'd be like, USA.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think is his name.
Oh, man. Loved that dude
Yes.
as well. Me and Bryce Bohart used to just chant.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, we loved him.
And he bounced around going crazy around the ring for
crazy
sure.
Struts.
I mean, there were some good ones. And then the 5-time champion, now he's probably been more than that, but Booker T.
Yeah, I liked Booker T. Back. He had a brother who I'm sure wasn't his real brother, and they were a tag team.
I mean, that's
Partners.
I remember that because it's all on Facebook. You can find the video. It's where he drops the N-word in an interview, because where he's talking about, I don't know, someone's like, and he gets that and just drops it and he goes, ooh. And then turns around to his woman and he tells her. That's what he says, and he's trying to play it off. And she's like, it's okay. And it was just, there's some really good ones. A few other ones I have on here, Rowdy Piper.
Yeah.
Yokozuna.
One I'll mention, but I don't really like him, is Ric Flair. I just think he gets way more credit than he necessarily. I get it. He like broke his back, came back. They had this new documentary about him.
Mm-hmm.
He's had sex with 10,000 women, drinks 12 drinks a day.
I mean, that's impressive. That's
Great
really
for
what he
him.
did.
But watching, he was never like, when he would win, it felt like bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to me as a kid, it never was like Ric Flair won that. He like cheated his way into it somehow.
One of the dirtier players.
Right, and he didn't have any really good moves.
No, I know, like in the 80s, he was part of the Four Horsemen, and I never really.
They brought those back when NWO or the Four Horsemen came back, and yeah, it was whatever, but yeah, I don't know. Just Ric Flair, for something about him, like, I enjoyed his like cockiness and him yelling "woo."
Yeah,
and like, I mean, there are a lot of things I enjoyed about him, but when people are always like, "Oh, one of the greatest ever," I'm like, maybe off longevity. Yeah, like if Bill Russell is, because he's done it like overselling. I don't know, but just. To me, he never hit the peaks that Hulk Hogan, The Rock, seeing any of these people.
I don't think he has. I mean,
but people try to act like it. These
for sure.
days.
I mean, I like him because he would. And one thing I always liked is whenever he would get hit and he'd look like he went dumb for a minute and walked around and just face plants right on the ground, like that hurts.
Right,
you just slammed right on your face. But he wasn't the best, but I agree. I think he needs a shout out.
I also really liked Chris Benoit, even though he went crazy and killed his family. I really liked him before.
He was awesome. I mean, one of his finishing moves was jumping off the rope and hitting you with his head. So, I mean.
There are a lot of small guys I really liked that I just don't remember as much.
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, the Guerrero brothers.
Yep.
Were cool.
Edge and Christian.
Yeah, they were good. I mean, I always liked Chris Jericho. I liked him in WCW.
Chris Jericho with his Walls of Jericho.
See, I call it the Lion Tamer because that's what he
was. Then he changed it to the Walls of Jericho. Yes.
I used to do that to people all the time when I was a fat kid.
I mean, it was just a full Boston Crab.
Yeah.
And then one I just mentioned is Yokozuna. He was 650 pounds.
Yeah.
And he could wrestle.
See, I also remember Vader pretty well.
Oh, Vader.
Big white redheaded dude.
With his mask on. Yes. I mean, and then I don't even remember the name of them, but Undertaker had like his underlings of all these dark people, and Edge was part of them that...
well, there was a black dude.
I'll say the really big black guy that was in.
I can't remember his name right now, but he wore like the contact lenses that made you have no pupils.
Yes,
creep me out.
Super. I mean, he's like 450 pounds. He's super creepy.
And then there was Sexual Chocolate. I can't remember the dude's real name. World's Strongest Man.
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry.
Yeah.
That's his name. What was the other one? The ladies' man? Was it Sid?
Val Venus.
Or Val Venus?
Because he'd be like,
Val
ladies,
Venus.
ladies. Val Venus is like an Rubik's Cube. The more you play with me, the harder I get. And you would be like 9 years old being like...
so good. For sure.
And his whole thing was he was supposed to be like an ex-porn star. I believe was his storyline. And you're like
Seems
a kid
about right,
being
yeah.
like...
All right.
Why does his video keep showing hot dogs? And like, it was so crazy. But I remember because you get the video game and you would hear it so often, you would finally like connect dots. Like, oh, that's what they're getting at.
For sure. And then one person I have to mention wasn't a huge fan, but he was very creepy, which was Gold Dust.
See, I actually kind of like Gold Dust in his weird androgynous way.
Yeah, I mean, he had the blonde wig, the very fur coat.
See, I need to look more into it, but I know Dusty Rhodes, that's who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Ric Flair have this huge beef that goes back decades, but
Really?
I don't know what it is. But
Probably slept
someday
with the same chick.
But someday I'll look into it and try to figure it out.
For sure.
All right, any more shout outs you have on wrestling?
No, I think we hit just about everyone. We mentioned Kevin Nash and Edge. Like I said, wrestling was just a huge deal when I was growing up.
Right. I mean, it was because it was on forever.
Yeah.
On Monday nights. Like, it was a 3-hour program, so that was awesome. I mean, this was back also when you had water cooler moments.
Yep.
Like right now, Game of Thrones is the only water cooler moment that happens. Because anything else good typically is going to be on, here's all 12 episodes, go watch it.
Yep.
Where this was like every Tuesday, you would get to school.
Guess what happened?
You would talk to your friends that you knew watched it.
Yep.
And then for me, it really helped that their video games were some of the best games. Like that, they found the formula that worked at that generation with obviously the PS1 and really perfected all those wrestling games. So if you played those, you were going to kind of be invested in watching it as well.
For sure.
So I think that definitely helped. And then just at some point in time, I don't know what it was, before John Cena, because I'd never watched a John Cena wrestling match, but he was probably the first person that blew up after I'd quit.
Yeah.
But just somewhere in there, I was just done watching it. My dad would be like, you want to watch wrestling? And I'm like, no.
No, it's good.
I'm all right.
Yeah. I guess my final shout out, which would have to be Kurt Angle.
See, I hated Kurt Angle, but in hindsight, I understand he's like a legit Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
But at the time, they just made him a douchebag.
For sure. No, I mean, like, I did not like him at all. But, I mean, he was also that very nice but slightly villainish type of person. He said that, all the parents are going to let their kids stay up late and watch me because I'm an Olympic champion and always wearing his gold medals.
Yeah.
Granted, if I had a gold medal from the Olympics, I would never stop wearing it.
Yeah,
I would be sporting that shit everywhere.
But, I mean, it was like, just kind of touching on just wrestling generally, it's so obvious they do steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Because he got huge.
Got massive.
And a lot of them been busted for and stuff. But, like, because it's entertainment, we, like, just, society doesn't mind.
Nope.
But if they were competing for something
then
that was real, then it would be a problem.
Exactly. But since it's a scripted.
It's like actors can do steroids all they want. But if you're trying to play football, you
can't be doing that.
It's just kind of strange.
Because, you don't want to have steroids in the game.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll see what else we got to talk about.
All right.
All right, and we're back. So, just an update on some stats from our SoundCloud page. Now, I'm not sure exactly how to read it. I've looked up stuff, and I know what the internet's telling me should be correct, but so currently at this exact moment, it looks like we have about 65 lists. Just
not bad.
Over all of our different things, right? And we're getting about 30 per episode, it seems, at the moment. Some are up to like 60 per episode.
Yeah,
but I think the lowest is like 30. But we have RSS feeds, right? Which is how people get podcasts through podcast services. And there was a certain 7-day period where I was looking at stats where we had more RSS feeds than we had plays.
Really?
But it says RSS feeds counts as plays. So I don't know if we only had, like the 60 or so, or if we had the 60 plus the 40 from the RSS feeds, or if it's count. Like, I'm just not sure.
For sure.
But either way, seems like some people are kind of sticking around, which is cool. Hopefully, eventually we get good at it.
Yeah, I know the last time I posted, I had a guy from Upward Bound, Barnell, said he was listening. My buddy from high school, Justin, says that he listens each week. Two Justins, really. And then we've got, there's quite a few people that seem to be listening each week, which is great.
So this was not on our plan, but it was a good segue there. So I have a job now, and I originally got rid of my Facebook or disabled it because I was looking for a job, and we have pictures of us that looks like we're throwing gang signs with black people, but it's really from a fraternity.
I know, looking back on it,
Right.
so bad.
Or there's like smoke everywhere, and we're all drinking, and I'm like, I can't untag myself, so let me just disable this Facebook while. But I've really enjoyed, in a way, not having Facebook. And so I could have reactivated, and I've really thought about it, especially so I could, like, share this podcast. But, like, I don't know, there's something really cool. Like, I just don't look. And then people are like, did you hear about this? And I'm like, no.
No, I didn't. I hear you. I don't get on Facebook that often. More, it's just to post about our podcast.
Right.
But I'm not a everyday Facebook kind of person when it comes to posting stuff or anything.
I enjoyed, I like seeing stories, that are happening.
Memes are what get me, though.
Right. Memes are great. Like, I love memes. And I'm a fan of some pages on Facebook that just put some love seeing. They really brighten my day. Now you have to deal with the people that, and I'm okay if people disagree with me. Like, that's fine. But when some people are just really dumb, like, sometimes you have to deal with that stuff. So I'm really considering coming back to Facebook. But another part of me just really enjoys not having it at the same time. So I haven't really made up my mind yet.
For sure. I hear you.
All right. So our next topic, we're going to try to talk about our pets because we both have pets. I think we've both had pets for most of our lives.
Yep.
We can try to do an extensive history. We'll see how it goes.
For sure.
Currently, I have a dog named Nymeria, and she's probably the sweetest dog I've ever known.
Very, very much.
Like, she won't bite anything.
Yeah, not
like,
anyone, anything.
Powwow has a dog named Rolo. They're about the same age and size. Rolo will just bite her up, and she just rubs her head against him or licks him. It's just crazy how non-violent she is for as energetic as she is. She'll jump on you to lick you.
Well, and then if you guys getting her from the pound and things like that.
She's almost dead, yeah.
Yeah, so I also think she has a lot of gratitude. Currently, I'm down to 2 dogs. Rolo, which is half Catahoula, half Pit and something else. And then we've got Bea, which is pretty much a blue heeler. And then I've currently got a leopard gecko named Bubbles. With what you're saying, I've had animals pretty much since I was a year old. That's when I first got my dog, even though I don't remember it. They got it from me. His name was Smiley. He was a Rottweiler. We got him from a junkyard. He was a great dog. I had him for, I believe, 14 years until we eventually had to put him down because just like most other Rotts, his hips went out.
Right.
And he started being able to not even bend over and take a crap. So it was coming to a point where the enjoyment of life was not there for him.
Right.
But no, I've mainly had dogs, but recently, over the last at least 10 years or so, I've really got into reptiles. As you know, we lived together. There was one instance where I had a red-tailed boa, and she was,
That's
she was
a snake.
It is. She was kind of, for lack of a better word, just bitchy all the time. She would, if she didn't want to be held, she would bite you. She didn't have that problem with me, but I do remember one time when you were a little while, you came home, and the cage was open. She was not in there. You were aware of some of her issues that she had. And I remember you were freaking out, wanting to know where she was at.
Well, I got a taser, and I searched the whole house for the snake, and I was going to tase it. Was my plan.
Yeah, and I had just the pet store at that point because it was coming to the point where she was biting me so often, and she was not able to eat her food very well that I had to allow someone else with more experience than myself continue handling her. But I've had just about anything from dogs. I had a potbelly pig that my grandmother on my dad's side bought from, I guess it was a slaughter show where they were selling animals, and this pig was going to get slaughtered. And so for $2, she purchased him, did not ask my opinion or anything. Then brought them over to my other grandparents where I was staying at the time, and gave that pig to me and go, hey, I bought a pig for you. I named him Max. I named him off of the Goofy movie. And I loved that pig, and he lived for, I believe it was 8 or 9 years.
Well,
until
a lot of
Coyotes
research
got him.
shows that pigs are like the closest emotionally to us, and we probably taste like pork if you were to eat a human. But like they cry like real tears, and like they have a great emotional understanding.
Yeah,
maybe not in other ways, but they're emotionally pretty smart.
For sure. He was great. He loved dog food. That's what we mainly gave him. Obviously, we had plenty of scraps we gave him and fruit. But I remember one of the weirdest times is because we had tires stacked up because there was a barbed wire fence right on the other side of his fence that we had put him in. And we put tires up there because he would try to hit that fence, and we didn't want him to get tore up by the barbed wire. Well, He was a black pig, and I don't know what if he seen these tires and had a little bit of fancy in his pants, because that was the first time I ever seen his penis, which looked like a curly fry. And I didn't know what was going on, because I was just like, I don't know what that is. That's nowhere. That's a penis. It looks very weird. So I ran to my grandma and told her there was a problem. And she goes, no, he's just humping that tire. That's all he's doing. But I remember he was ridiculously fast. Like I had a buddy named Mario that was our running back, and he would keep up with him at running. This 275-pound pig running with these little short legs. And my pop showed me how to walk him. You took a stick on each side of the head. You would tap him, and he would walk straight. And I love that pig up until he was killed by a couple of coyotes. He took one of them out before he died, which had a little bit of pride. But I remember that was one of the days, first times I had lost an animal, and I had just cried and cried and cried. My pops, of course, just buried him out back with the tractor.
See, being where I'm from, almost everyone except me was in FFA.
Okay.
And so you showed cows or pigs.
Yeah,
or
I never got into that.
I never even tried to, and it's not that like I was like 100% against it, but I just fear my mom was going to be like, no, we're not paying for an animal.
And it seems very expensive.
Right. And I remember they had to like, if you didn't have a place for it, you had to rent a shed or whatever. And maybe the FFA people would rent them out to students. I don't really know how it all went. But I would go with my friends to where they would show theirs and sell them, and they would make a lot of money. So I know it can pay off, but it was just, I never even thought to ask my mom if I could do it. So that's why I was like one of 4 guys not in FFA in my high school. But pigs always seemed cool.
Yeah.
A lot cooler than cows.
Yeah, I mean, we never had any cattle or anything, but I loved my pig. If I had more room, I would have another one, because he was just awesome. But I mean, they're not, I'm not going to eat them.
Right.
Especially potbelly pig, I'm not going to eat him. And I know a lot of people
would.
Right, if I had to, I would, but I wouldn't keep them for that reason. But I know a lot of people keep them in their house and train them to use the bathroom outside. And I could not have a pig live in my house.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty smart. I don't know. I barely like having a dog live in the house. I mean, I really enjoy my dog, but there's times where I'm like,
exactly,
such a headache. And I'm sure pigs can be messy as well.
For sure. Oh, I guess I forgot one of my current animals, just because I just dislike it. It's a cat. Named it Samantha Carter off Stargate. We went to PetSense because I went to go get crickets for my then bearded dragon that I had. Bull, passed away 2 years ago. Remember, I texted you on that day. I was very emotional because, again, I love my animals. I really do. And
I told you to wait.
Yep. And we were there getting crickets, and my wife was pregnant at the time with Saya. And she wanted to go because she seen this guy who had a tall laundry basket standing by the road. It said free kittens.
I hate cats.
For sure. And so I come out of the store with the crickets, and she is standing there with this white cat who maybe weighed a pound. It was severely malnourished, had fleas all over it. And so I go, let's go back over here to this guy because I plan on giving this cat back. And maybe it's because I do have that soft spot for animals, but when I seen there was 4 or 5 other kittens just sitting on top of each other because there's no room in that basket. Right. And he told me this is like the 3rd litter this year. And I'm like, first of all, just go get your cat spayed or neutered, whatever.
No one else watched Price is Right.
Right, and it was one of those moments where I was just like, you know what, I have to take this cat, and so now we have kept it. I just never really liked cats, and it stems from.
I had one for 2 days that I liked. Someone just left in a box in front of our house. We brought it in, and it was a really sweet cat, but my dog hated it.
For sure.
So my mom gave it to this cat lady we knew.
Yeah,
and I mean that's 28 other cats. So.
That's always the biggest hurdle if you have cats and dogs, is making sure that they can get along. Obviously,
right?
Because I mean, it seems like they're like mortal enemies against each other.
Right.
But I've still got that cat, and she's just now fat and lazy around the house. But I think that my reason that my hatred for cats is when I was younger, my sister and my mom had a calico cat, and then we had an all white one as well, similar to the one I have now, and I had a hamster. And I had it up on a shelf on the wall. Again, the cat should not be able to reach it at that point. It knocked my hamster cage down, and it killed my hamster.
Well, then, yeah, fuck them forever.
Exactly. So I grabbed that cat, and this is probably one of the things that I should have never done, but I grabbed that cat and literally threw it out the back door. And just shut the door.
Yeah.
And I was very upset. I told my mom I wanted to get rid of the cat. It was a terrible thing, and my mom hates rodents, whether it's a squirrel or anything. Right. And so she was like, well, it happens, you know? Yeah. And I was like, no, fuck that cat. I'm done with all cats. I don't want him anymore. And I think that's where it came from.
Rusty had a black cat. I'm probably going to forget it. I feel like his name was Hamlet, but I'm probably way wrong.
Rusty, if you're listening, let us know if that's right or wrong. Right.
And we moved to Hastings and got this cat. I feel like that's the way it happened. Mm-hmm. And it was cool in some ways, but it would claw the fuck out of you.
Yes, they would.
So that would just be like, well, I don't really like them because they claw me all the time.
Exactly. And if they don't want to be held, they're going to scratch your ass up.
Right. So my history of pets, for the most part, is mainly dogs. I feel like I had a dog a long, long time ago, and my grandparents for like a day, like a stray came up, and I thought it was mine, sort of thing. But the first dog I remember like feeling ownership over, I was 4 or 5, and this dog just kind of came up. We lived in this quadplex. It's like one building, 4 apartments, and I named it Shadow because it was like real sketchy, like cautious, right? Like it probably was abused in hindsight, but I was just like, oh, it's like a shadow because it goes and whatever.
Thought it was more like a homeward bound shadow,
right? And so named it Shadow, and then like a month later, I'm outside playing with it, and these people come and go, "That's our dog," and take it.
Wow, as a kid, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably scream and go crazy.
I mean, I was mad, but my parents were like, yeah, they guess have been looking for it, and it was lost. I don't know. Like, in hindsight, maybe they just lied. And my parents were like,
but your town is like, what, 150 people? How do they not?
It's like 2,000. But
you know what I mean? Like, right, how do they not know?
So that was a bummer. And then, so like that was like kindergarten. And then I get another dog named, they named it Dino.
Dino?
And it died in like 4 weeks.
Wow.
When we got it, it had 340 ticks on it we pulled off, and it wasn't even 6 weeks old yet. So it lasted like a month and it died. And it was like a golden lab looking thing or something. And then we got Jimbo, which was a collie, which is like a lassie dog.
Yep.
It was the runt of the litter. So got it from my aunt. And it ended up being twice the size of any other dog. Like, it was a huge collie. Like, collies normally aren't this big.
I feel like that happens a lot with, like, this is the run of the litter, and it's always, like, the largest dog.
And it got really big. And then I remember one summer my mom shaved all of its hair off.
Oh, my
So those dogs aren't supposed to look like that. And it was the scariest thing.
Yeah.
My cousin Brandon pulled on its ears once, and it bit Brandon in the face. And then they were trying to act like we had to get rid of it. And I'm like, He pulled its ears.
Yeah.
Right? So I was very defensive of that. Then my mom, for whatever reason, because twice in my life, she has decided to start a daycare business out of our house. And we had to get rid of the dog because it was over the weight limit or whatever because it was too big. And they gave it to these people that lived on a highway, and it died like a week later running on the highway. So that was a bummer.
Yeah.
Again, my mom's thing didn't last too long, her daycare. So we got another dog and got a golden lab. Same was Pebbles. It was super awesome. Started foaming at the mouth one day and having seizures, so had to get it put down.
Yep.
And then, so like I had pretty shitty luck with these dogs.
Very bad.
And then we got Pepper.
Pepper.
Which you knew
I
Pepper.
remember Pepper.
And Pepper was a black poodle.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Jonathan's family had like a little poodle farm in their backyard. And they had one gray poodle and all white poodles. So the fact that she was black was kind of, I guess, rare that it happened or whatever. I got her pretty early, and they were like, oh, you can just pick one and have it. And they sold these dogs for like a few $100s, so that was pretty cool. They just let me have one. But every other puppy in that litter was killed by the mother like a week later.
Oh my
Because they had like an underground pool, and they just threw them all in there and drowned them.
Wow, yeah.
So I always feel like I saved Pepper, right?
Yeah.
And Pepper was way too smart for her own good. She was a mean, bitchy dog. Like, she was really nice to me, but she would, like, attack my parents up the ground. Those were now her shoes unless she wanted you to have them. Like, she would just attack you. So she was kind of mean.
Yep.
Eventually got a tumor in her throat. And then
I remember
had
all
to be
that.
put down because she couldn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
She was, like, 12 or 13. So when I got to college, I got Onyx.
I remember Onyx and that little. He would sit on the back of your neck on that recliner.
He was
in your
a little
apartment.
rat terrier. I got him for. I don't really know why I got a dog. I think it's stupid to have a dog in college, but got a dog, and then eventually we moved in together, and we couldn't have pets, so I gave it to my parents, and then Pepper just died or was about to die, so it was a good dog for them to have.
And now he's still a smaller dog, but he's super fat.
He looks like a mustard bottle, and it drives me nuts. Like, I don't even touch him, because now that I have Nymeria that's like 70-pound dog, to see a little, I mean, he was like, I remember having to wait for him to hit 6 pounds to get him neutered.
Yeah.
Forever. So, like, he's a small dog. And then now that I see him, and he, like I say, looks like a mustard bottle, he's just fucking round, and his snout looks like the point
so
of
funny
the
to look at
out.
him.
Right. I feel mean about it when I see him, because I know I don't pet him or show him as much attention, because I'm just like, you look so creepy. And he's only like 9 years old, and he's all going gray and looks like he's about to die any moment. He sleeps 20 hours a day, walks about 5 feet at a time.
Your mom's, I feel like they have like a ramp up for everything.
He
he used to be able to jump.
He has staircases everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, like he used to be able to jump really well, and now he's so fat he has to have staircases just to get on the couch.
Right. And then so got rid of him, then didn't have a dog for a while. And then one day I came home sick with the flu from work, and Koopy, my wife, is sitting there with a puppy going, hey, I got a puppy today. And she didn't really have dogs growing up. Not like way we just explained how we always had dogs. She had like a wiener dog, I think, at one time for a little bit. So, I mean, it's been fun because she really enjoys it, and the way I think when I would talk about dogs before, she would just kind of blow it off like whatever. They're not really like that. But when you have a dog, you see how like they do have a whole bunch of emotion and personality. Yeah. And even if we project it on them, it still is a thing that like you get used to.
For sure.
So watching her do that's fun. But anyway, I came home sick. The dog was sick, had coccidiovirus and hookworms, and was about to die. Kept trying to crawl underneath the house to die. We went to a vet, the only vet that was open on Christmas Eve, got it some medicine. That's why we still go to that vet, even though it's stupid expensive. And the dog lived. I lived.
And now she's super healthy. And
yeah, now she's super attached.
For sure. I mean, I've never seen a dog that, I mean, even Rolo, after we got him from the SPCA, he was very excited all the time to see us, but then he eventually slowed down. Now, Mary just seems like since she got herself healthy again, she's never changed.
Yeah, she's going to be one of these dogs I think is a puppy forever.
For sure. I mean, it's great to be able, I mean, and I think that's why a lot of people get dogs is the unconditional love that they give you when you get home.
Right.
Every day you come home, that dog is always ready to see you. They're sitting right there waiting at the door or outside if you have them outside. But no, I hear you there. I was very much the same way with dogs. We had a lot of pits and rots growing up, which is why I don't understand some people's fear of them.
Right.
Because of that is their. I mean, you have the Dobermans.
I think I've come across probably. I mean, I kind of get it because I have come across more mean pit bulls and Rottweilers than I have most other dogs.
Well, for sure.
But except like Chihuahuas, they're all mean. But they're just small, so no one cares. But I mean, I've come across really good Rottweilers and pit bulls that have good owners, but they are fairly easy to make shitty if the owners are shitty.
For sure, and I think that is the thing that no one ever mentions is that's most of the time. Granted, There are a few bad dogs that are just bad, angry dogs. But just like with every human, that's going to happen. You're going to have some that are just bad.
Well, historically, we would have killed the bad dogs so they wouldn't breed, and then that's how we domesticated them.
Yeah.
But now we just let them run around.
For sure. And I mean, there's a lot of inbred, granted, unless you're talking about like registered dogs, which don't allow that stuff. And
They're all inbred. That's how they were made.
for sure, that's how they're. But now you can't. It's very strange. But we grew up having pits and rots, and we had one little dog that was a miniature Doberman. His name was Lucky because he got hit by a car and he lived. Hence the name Lucky.
Okay.
I guess if you call it lucky that he got hit by a car, but he at least
right.
lived.
I say it'd be lucky if he never got in any
right,
accident.
But he was a great dog and lived for a while until he eventually died. I don't remember. I think he was maybe 12 or something when he died. But I remember one dog that was my sister's, and her name was Princess. She was a pit. She was the brother and sister had the baby, so this was definitely inbred right from the beginning. We didn't mean for them to. We didn't want them to. Slick was just, he was very good at getting out of his cage. And so she wanted Princess because she had bad legs. Like they just did not work from the time she was little. The vet said we should put her down. But she could go to the bathroom on her own. She figured it out. She'd lean up against the side of the fence. Whatever. I mean, she was a really good dog. But looking back on it, I don't know now if I'd be able to keep that dog with it just running with the two back legs dragging on the ground the entire time. But, I mean, she lived for, I don't know, 11, 12 years just fine, no problem, except for obviously her legs dragging. But it was one of those dogs where we couldn't get rid of her. No one else wanted her. We couldn't kill the dogs at that time. But I had dogs most of the time, like I said, till last 10 years when I got into reptiles. And I got my first snake, my ball python, GZ, after our pledge class Gamma Zeta. I remember there was multiple parties. We had them out. I remember one party in particular where our friend Marshall, which we've talked about before, he was at the party, and most of the time other people would hold my snake, which sounds very bad. But someone didn't put him back in the tank. So I go and check on him. The tank is open, and he's out. And Marshall flips out and literally walks home, which is on the complete opposite side of town. And he's drunk. It's not like he's sober. Walks all the way from one side of Ada all the way to his side just so he doesn't have to deal with that snake at that party.
I mean, that sounds like something he would do. So.
It was funny. And then I haven't had another snake since that ball python. I've had a bearded dragon with Bullet who died at 9 years old. I think he died because he had fell once, and about a month later, I came home from work and he was just laying there, bleeding out of his eyes and everything. So I think he may have had some internal injuries that I was just unaware of. But I really like reptiles. Granted, they are just art pieces at the end of the day.
My hot take is they're just expensive art pieces because they just kind of sit there. You have to buy them food. It costs electricity to put light on them. And I don't really understand why. Like, I understand why you feed a dog because it feels like your buddy. Mm-hmm. But a reptile, it is more of you are having to do everything for it because it literally does nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
it just sits in its cage. Like, you have to do everything for it. And I could see the comparison to a fish, but the fish you do requires a lot less.
It does. I mean, reptiles, you got to clean their tank out once a week. You got to make sure the humidity's right. You have to make sure the heat is correct. Make sure they have hot and cold sides of the tank.
Yeah, I ain't trying to do all that.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I guess I have this connection with animals. I love them in general. There's one animal that I will never have.
You get a pet tarantula?
That's any spider. I don't care what it is. I will never have a spider because I am that terrified.
See, I think spiders are way cooler than most reptiles.
Cooler, yes, but no, I can't have a spider. No, I don't even like them sitting outside of my house. So inside there, that could not.
I mean, my rule is if they're inside, I gotta kill them. But if they're outside, I never mess with them.
For sure.
And I also did have a hamster at one point in time. I named him Chips Ahoy, and I would build spaceships for him out of Legos. And I'm sure he hated it. He had some deformity where his butt was the same size as the rest of his body. So it was like body was like 4 inches, and then its butt was like 3 inches hanging off the back. It was fucking weird.
For sure.
Gave it to my friend Sean one summer. He just asked if he could take care of it for the summer. And then next time I saw him, he said the hamster was dead. So that's how that
was it.
My mom was happy. She did not like it.
For sure.
All right. I mean, we only covered 2 things, but I feel like, we definitely made it last here.
For sure.
So I don't have any new awesome beats. I have been talking to the dude who was getting us beats. He's going to try to get some more. So we're going to be doing some repeats, but I think they're all cool. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, anything else we need to talk about, pal, before we end this podcast?
Not really. I just want to throw out one last time. If anyone has any comments, suggestions, ideas, anything you'd like for us to talk about, please, or if you need to correct us on anything, please email us at thepowwowwithmo@gmail.com. That is THEPOWWOWWITHMO@gmail.com.
All right, and next week we're doing top 5 favorite Thanksgiving dishes.
Very appropriate, and it's going to make me hungry.
So, I mean, this one might be the hardest to pick 5, or at least to order them.
For sure.
So we'll see how it goes.
For sure. And lastly, thank you to all of our veterans out there for your service.
Peace.
Peace.